and she saw a need for an orphanage, and so she was going to open an orphanage. But the local leaders convinced her that a school would be more beneficial. And so in January of 1963, she opened up what was then called Sun Valley Indian School. And it has since then, this year they are celebrating 60 years, and it has grown. The mission of the Native American Christian Academy is to educate and disciple students for Christ. Their core values are holiness, service, and teamwork. This school is an independent, nonprofit institution. It is part of the Church of the Nazarene, and so they share holiness, Wesleyan holiness theology with their students. This is a on-campus school, so that means all the students live in dormitories. They provide 3 meals a day, all the housing that the kids need. It's a safe place for the kids. Many of the reservations that the kids come from don't have water and electricity. And so this is a place where they come to have all their basic needs met during the school year. The average cost per student is $13,500 a year. But obviously, these families can't afford that. So this school only charges $50 a kid a month. And so everything else that they get is through donations, through giving, through mission work, all the things. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what we did there and then how we can help. But the current director, Josh, was actually a missionary in Romania, and his family was getting relocated to Florence, Italy. And so in between that transition, it was in 2021, they came back to the United States to do speaking engagements. So a lot of missionaries, when they go in between, they come back and they speak, and that's how they fundraise and all the things. So he had come back, he and his family had come back for the summer. They were speaking at several churches, and they ended up coming to Native American Christian Academy towards the end of the school year. And they spent about a week with the kids in the school, and then went on their traveling schedule. And he said it was probably about a month later, he got a phone call from the board asking him if he would be interested in being the director, because the director had just resigned. And he said originally, he's like, his wife and I, they had talked about the school after they had went, and he's like, we talked about all the possibilities, but it really just wasn't thriving, and he didn't see himself there. And so he did what, any Christian would do, and he was like, I'll pray about it. But then he later told us, you don't say you're going to pray about it and then don't expect God to change your mind. He said, we arrived in Florence, Italy, and he goes, I just had this heavy weight that we weren't supposed to be there. And so he told his wife, I think we need to move to Arizona. And she went, are you crazy? We are in Italy. We just got to Italy. And now you want to go back to Arizona. And she wasn't on board, and so for the next 3 nights, he told us the story that she didn't sleep for 3 nights, not a minute. And so finally, after the 3rd night, she said, if I'm going to sleep again, I think we have to move to Arizona. And so they moved to Arizona. They've been there since the fall of 2021, and he is doing amazing work with the school. It is thriving. It is growing. There's lots of kids, and so we're going to share a little bit about some of the things that we did to help their growing changes.
So I'm going to talk about what we did on Sunday. And we went to a little church in Winslow, and it was fun. Our boys got to help with offering, and we got to go to children's church, which was really fun. And then,
Where did we go after church?
we went to orientation, and Josh showed us all around campus where we would be working and where the water was. And then we got straight to work.
All right, so she was talking about the water. So there, we can't drink the water. It's even though it's in the United States, and you think, hey, we have good water, and it's not there. So this picture on the left there is the sink where they had a reverse osmosis where we could fill our water bottles and get clean water for us to drink. Orientation, so we got there on a Saturday evening. We were there from Saturday to Saturday. So after church on Sunday, like she said, they gave us an orientation. We walked through the entire campus. I didn't tell you this, but it is 32 buildings on 72 acres. So we walked every bit of that. We went into every single building. We saw everything that they had. He showed us the projects that we would be working on, the things that needed to get done. And he also told us we were leaving on Saturday. Students were arriving on Sunday. So we were like the last ditch effort group to get everything done that needed to be done before the kids arrived on Sunday. And of course, after orientation, one of the things on the list was cleaning the dorms. And we decided, let's go ahead and get started on that. But before, you have to do weeds first, sorry.
So,
Typical day, that's me, sorry. See, it helps if you practice first. So a typical day for us, there is a time change. Most of us were up between 4 and 5 a.m. there, so we decided between 5 and 6 is when we were going to get started, because anybody who has ever worked outside, thanks Dad for teaching us this, it's cooler in the morning than it is in the afternoon. And one of the jobs that we had to do was pull weeds, and so we were up at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning pulling the weeds. We would do this until about 8, and then we would go back to our rooms. We'd have breakfast, do a devotional. We would go back out and work until about 11:45. Then we would go back. We would have a lunch, cool down, get rehydrated. Then go back out and work until about 5:30. Then we would come back. We would have dinner, a nightly devotion. For some of our group, that was the end of their day, and they would do all the nightly things that needed to happen around our dormitory, and then a couple others of us would go back out and work until about 9 p.m.
So, the weeds on the playground, they hurt. There were a lot of goat heads on the playground. And there's these stickers, but the pointy parts are like this. It's like they hook into your skin. And it was bad.
This was the before picture. And why did we have to pull them?
So they were in a burn ban, and they usually blow torch them, but since they were in a burn ban, they couldn't blow torch them. So we had the lovely joy of pulling them.
So they actually said they have these stickers called goat heads. They are mean little boogers. They're worse than any sticker I've ever dealt with. But they were all over the playground, all over the basketball courts, around the school building. And like she said, normally they blow torch them, but they were in a burn ban. So the directors looked at us and they said, "We are so sorry. We hate to ask, but we need all of this pulled." The kids obviously can't play on the playground with it looking like that. And of course we were like, sure, we got it, no big deal. Yeah, we did have it though. 4 days later, every single weed on the playground, around the school, the classrooms, and the basketball courts were gone.
And on the third day, we were kind of tired and our body was hurting. And my mom had the excellent idea of motivating us. And the motivation was, if we could get all of the weeds pulled before day 4, she would take us all to Dairy Queen, and we would get ice cream.
Ice cream's a great motivator for kids, apparently. Yeah, by the third day, we were all kind of dragging at 6 o'clock in the morning, and our backs were hurting, and so the kids obviously just wanted to play, and so I gave them a little incentive that if we could get it all finished on the 4th day, I would take them into town and we would get some Dairy Queen. Lo and behold, they got it done.
And it was delicious.
So these are the goat heads on the bottom of a pair of shoes. So before we could enter in, after we were picking weeds, before we could enter into any building, we had to pick all the goat heads off of our shoes. So we determined by the end, if we had known we were going to have to do this part, we probably would have brought 2 pairs of shoes. That way we could have just left those outside and then we had another work pair, but we didn't know. So we got to the lovely joy of cleaning our shoes off each morning before we went inside. The next thing that we did, one of the tasks that we did was cleaning the dorms. They have 4 working dormitories at the moment. There's an elementary boys, elementary girls, and then there's a high school girls and a high school boys. This school is 1st through 12th grade. And so their dorms obviously have, you can see from the picture here, were very well lived in and loved. And their water was hard, so if the water had been left on over the summer, we had this lovely brown residual stuff that we had to scrub off of the bottom of the showers. But when they told us we were cleaning the dorms, we just kind of thought, oh, a sweep, a mop, a dust, we're good. We can have this knocked out in a day. We had to do those things, but it was also making the beds, putting the towels on the beds, getting all the toiletries ready. NACA provides everything that the students need because they're coming to them literally with the clothes on their back. So all the linens, we washed them, we made the beds, we got them towels, all their toiletries, the bathrooms were cleaned, floors were swept and mopped. Each dorm has like a living room area where we organized games. We hung a TV in one of them. Somebody had donated a TV for the little girls' dorm, and so we hung the TV up in there. Lots of cleaning. Curtains had to be hung, which she'll talk about that here in a little bit. They also had an activity center, and their classrooms needed to be cleaned. The activity center is where they go. They have a weight room. They have a video game. Yeah, that's it. Video game area where they can play video games. But then they have all the there's dolls, there's Legos, there's Kinects, there's all the things. And everything needed to be organized and cleaned and ready to start a new school year. So we were able to go in, get all of that cleaned and organized for them. Because our goal, when we heard the students were coming on Sunday, our goal was to take care of all of the things on camp that way the teachers could focus on their classrooms. And so by us being able to do that, the teachers were able to go in their classrooms. They were able to get set up, get their lesson plans ready. We had a couple people who went in and swept and mopped the classroom floors and dusted for them, but the teachers were very appreciative because if we hadn't pulled the weeds, then they would have been outside pulling the weeds, getting ready for the kids instead of working in their classrooms. And if we hadn't have done some of the other work that we're going to talk about, again, they would have to have been focused on that when they needed to be focusing on getting ready for the kids. So we were able to really help them out.
Okay, so curtains. There were 7 classrooms, and each classroom had 7 curtains in them. So that's 49 curtains we had to spray. And we had to spray them with fire retardant because of fire code. And we got messy. You can see here, after spraying them, we had to iron them. And
you had to let them dry and iron them and then hang them up.
Hang them back up.
Yep. So they hung up over 100 curtains because the dorms had 49, but then there were curtains in the cafeteria, the activity room, different places like that. So there was lots of different jobs for all the different people in our groups. Go for it.
So their graduation had just ended, and so there were over 100 chairs in the gym. And we had to clean them, wash them, and push them all together and
stack them,
and the boys did that great.
So she said they had their graduation in the gym in May, and the chairs have just kind of sat there over the last 2 months because they've been traveling around trying to fundraise. The chairs needed to be cleaned, but then they actually went in the chapel Those were the chairs that came from their chapel. So after we cleaned them, we then had to stack them and move them into the chapel once we were able to finish working in it. So the kids were a big help here because some of the older adults that went with us were able to sit and clean the chair, and the kids were the runners. So they got their energy out running chairs back and forth, and we got the chairs clean.
And for us to get those done, they had rollerblades and roller skates, and they said once we got the chairs done, we could roller skate all we want.
Little motivations. It's amazing what it does. The next two projects were the bigger projects that we did. They are in the process of repainting all 32 buildings on campus. They're all stucco buildings, which means every couple of years they have to be repainted, and some of the stucco needed to be redone. We are not stucco experts, so we had to leave that project behind. But there were several of us there was a group of 3 of us who said, we'll tackle the painting part, because we knew we could handle the heat somewhat. And so we decided to do that. We went and got the Hunter, who is the project manager, sent us to this building, and they have all the paint you need. I mean, all the supplies you need are there. And they had this really big, fancy sprayer. And I'm like, ooh, y'all, we're going to get a lot of buildings done with this sprayer. We're going to move fast. And we haul everything to the back of the cafeteria. The front half of the cafeteria had been done by the group previous to us, but they weren't able to do the sides and the back. And so we were going to get that finished. And we pull everything out, and Hunter comes over to show us how to use this big fancy sprayer, and lo and behold, the nozzle on the end is missing. And we search, we cannot find it. The only thing he can guess is the group before us accidentally threw it away. So we only have one option, and that's to roll the whole building. And it wasn't horrible in the beginning because we were on this shade side, and we had poles with extenders, and we were just working. But then Hunter comes out and he says, don't forget, you also need to do the part of the roof that cuts over the building. What is that called? The eave? Yeah, sort of. I don't know. Anyway, the part that comes over the building, we need that painted as well. And I'm like, that's really high. And he said, we have a ladder. And I said, okay. Me and the other girl that was with me, we were on the very top step of the extended ladder, and I'm still barely able to touch, leaning backwards. Me and Jesus got really close that week. In fact, we had one gentleman who was starting to have some back troubles, and so to help him out, but more importantly to help us out, we asked him if he would be our ladder holder, and you'll see some pictures of him here in just a minute. But yeah, every time we went up on that ladder, here we go, Jesus, we're coming closer. It was super high, but we were able to get it done. There were a couple of times, and you'll see some videos where we're laying on the chapel floor. That's when it was so incredibly hot, and we were sweating so much, like we had to go in and rest. And so that was us resting, not just, being lazy, I promise. We also had to get creative. Some of the air conditioning units were in the way, and we could not get our ladders where they needed to go. And so we found us some machinery and some ply boards, and boy, we had some fun. Don't tell OSHA. But we got the painting done. We thought we would get it done in a day or two. It really ended up taking us the whole time because of the heat and the amount that there was. You can see on the right, this is the smaller part of the building, and that's me standing there. So if that's the smallest part we painted, you can just imagine how tall, and especially above the garage, that's where their food deliveries come in. That was incredibly high, and it's slanted. So that made for lots of fun days painting. The next thing big project we worked on was their chapel. I told you the group before, we had a group that came before us. They accidentally threw the nozzle away. They also were helping in putting in the flooring of the chapel, as well as the soundproof ceiling tiles. When we showed up, the flooring was half up because it had been done wrong, so they were having to go back and redo it. And the ceiling tiles, you can see from the picture on the left, were falling down because they were not put up correctly. So our group had to come in and go back and kind of refix some things. So we got the floor finished, and we had a group who was working on the ceiling tiles, which again was kind of hard. It was a lot of labor, bending backwards, measuring, cutting, stapling, all the things. But because the group before us had not done it correctly, by Friday morning, we had calculated that they were going to be about 120 tiles short. Because some of the tiles we couldn't save. And they just said, you know what, we're going to get as much done as we can. That way they can order we know how much they need to order, they can order that, and then they can finish it. Then at lunch, the girl who was kind of in charge of keeping up with all the stuff did another tally, and instead of being short 120, they were only going to be short 75. And she's like, okay, y'all, this isn't bad. 75 tiles, they come in a pack of 60. And so she was like, 2 packs, that's not horrible. And then at supper time, she did another count, and they were only going to be short 22 tiles. So at dinner, they're telling all of us, like, y'all, we don't know what's happening, but the tiles are, like, we're only going to be short 20 tiles. Like, it's almost going to be finished when we leave. And so we were real excited because our group was very focused on getting things done, and we had a checklist on the refrigerator, and buddy, we were going through and checking stuff off. And we didn't want to leave the chapel not finished, because that's their chapel. That's where they're going to go and worship. It's also the newest Nazarene church in Sun Valley, Arizona. There's a Nazarene church not too far from the school, but because of all of the squatters around the school and some of the things happening, it's not safe for them to transport the kids to that church anymore. So they have now turned their chapel into a Nazarene church, and they are inviting the parents of the kids to come and worship with them. But anyway, one of our goals was to get this chapel done. That way they could hold chapel services. And Friday night, we were finishing, because we were determined to finish our painting job. We were outside painting in a thunderstorm, which doesn't happen, and they were in a burn ban, so it was kind of weird. But we were finishing our painting, and then one of the gentlemen, Mitchell, came around the corner, and he said, hey, we finished the chapel. And we turned and looked at him, we're like, you're finished? And he goes, yeah, we're finished. Are y'all almost finished? And we're like, yeah, give us about 5 minutes. And so in our head, we're like, oh, they ran out of tiles. Like, they've done all they can do. We finished painting, we put all of our things away, and we went in the chapel, and there's kind of a before picture. I kind of forgot to do the slides as I'm talking, sorry. We had exactly enough tiles to finish. So we went from starting the day 120 short to having exactly enough to finish. And the kids moved all the chairs in, we got them all set up, and that's what their chapel looks like. So they were able to start chapel services the very next day. This is a picture of us hanging that TV in the kids' area. Thanks, Dad, for teaching me so much. It paid off. The chapel also needed some painting, so we did that. So we got some pictures of just painting. There was a box that was covering up some ducting that needed to come down. And of course we thought, oh, it'll be easy. It's just probably some nails or something. Yeah, no, it took us about 4 hours. There was some wood glue and some screws and some nails and some things we don't know. They did not want that box to come down, but we got it down.
So, while we were done with all of our chores, we went into our kitchen and we started making cards for the kids. And what we did was we got paper and we wrote the kids' names, and we just gave them a little thanks for coming. Hope you like your dorm. Have a great year and all that. And yeah.
So that was one of the projects the kids worked on. So every kid, as they came in, got a card from our kids that was just welcoming them there and wishing them a good school year. So then our very last task, which we had to wait till we got all the chairs out, was to clean their gym and get it ready for orientation on Sunday for the kids. And we did that on Friday night. That was one of the last things that we were able to do. Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Okay.
And after we were done with the cards, we had a little time. And so one of the ladies, she had bought 6 water guns. And we went around the campus squirting all the adults.
They thought they were so funny, squirting the adults with water guns. The kids had to be entertained, so they had a little bit of fun while they were there. But like we said, the students at NACA live on campus. They only charge them $50 a month to educate them. And so a lot of the money for this school comes from child sponsorship programs. We convinced them while we were there to create an Amazon wish list because, a lot of people might not be able to sponsor a child every month, but, they may find, hey, I can buy some bed sheets or I can buy some toothbrushes or something like that. So they created an Amazon wish list that they've shared out. You can go on their Facebook page and get updates. They just posted one of a field trip that they were able to take the kids on. And so that's how they work, is through, there's some tax credits because it is a Native American school, but then it's primarily everything's through donations, child sponsorship, and things that work and witness teams are able to come and do for them. So if you ever have a chance where you can go and serve, I would highly recommend going there. It's really, it's hot, but it's fun to see what a Christian school is doing for its community. All right, so how does this tie in with Faith Promise and missions? I'm sure we've all felt like we don't have enough. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough money. We're just one person. What difference can we make? But that's exactly how a little boy in John 6 felt. One day, a huge crowd was following Jesus. You all know the story. People were hungry, and a little boy gave his lunch. And through the giving of his lunch, of those 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, he was able, with Jesus' help, to feed thousands of people. And he had 12 baskets of food left over. So he gave what he had to Jesus, and then what did Jesus do? He turned around and multiplied something so small. Throughout our trip, we were able to live out this action over and over again. Each day, from pulling weeds to painting to hanging tiles to cleaning. I mean, we were tired. Our bodies were tired. But every morning we woke up and there was not one person who said, you know what, I don't know if I can go pull weeds this morning. We all woke up able to go out and to continue working. The ceiling tiles in the chapel, we were 120 short on Friday morning, but by Friday evening, we had exactly enough tiles. They have a new music teacher that was starting. She had only ever taught high school. She had never taught younger kids. Well, we had an elementary music teacher on our team. So she was able to help give her some guidance and help her plan some things for her class, in which she also, that music teacher, wasn't supposed to be there while we were there, but she fell and broke her neck on a vacation and had to come back early. And so, I mean, it's sad she broke her neck, but because she came back early, she was able to meet with our music teacher and get a plan. And it's just silly how things kind of work out. And another one that was kind of silly, we had to rent a van to drive to Arizona. which means we had a certain mileage we had to keep that van under. Otherwise, we would be charged extra. We're a small church. We're on a budget. We're not going over and being charged. That was my job. So I am calculating every time we go somewhere. I'm calculating all the miles, and I'm like, y'all, we're not going to make it. We're going to go over. It's going to happen. But I turned the van in with 7 miles to spare. Like, over and over again. God provided every step. Through prayers, through our finances. We had people who, I had to pay for 2 of us. That's hard. But the money was always there when we needed to make a payment. The materials we needed were there when we needed it. Over and over again, God provided. Get it together. He multiplied every effort we had, just like he multiplied that little boy's lunch. So, let me get it together now. In the Church of the Nazarene, Faith Promise supports the WEF, which is the World Evangelism Fund. This supports our missions, it trains leaders, it spreads the gospel, it serves communities around the world. We participate in Faith Promise because we want to be a part of God's story of hope around the world. Our giving sends the gospel when our feet may not be able to go. That's why we do Faith Promise. You may not be able to go and travel and do mission trips. You may not be able to go to another country, but you have something you can give that God can multiply. And sometimes we think, well, what I give won't make much of a difference. I can only do $2 a month. I can only do $5 a month. But why are we putting God in a box? He can take that $2, he can take that $5 and multiply it. Get it together. Get it together. Jeez. So, you have to ask yourself, am I willing to trust God to use me and even stretch my faith to help others know him? That's all we have. We do have a video that Colton's going to play for you. Did you put music to it or no? No? Okay, perfect. I can kind of talk through some of it as it plays. That's fine. These were the stairs we had to climb every single day to get to our rooms after working all day. This was the cafeteria before we got it all set up. There's the playground. That's a classroom. And that's the chapel before we started. Of course, our water. I think there's like 3 pictures of that. I don't know why, but there you go. This is the weight room that they are starting for the older boys. This was the Winslow Church on Sunday. The boys got to help with offering. That was kids' church. Standing on the Corner, if you know the Eagles song. It's right there. That's the gym, and then to the left is the dormitory that we stayed in. And of course, the befores of the playground. Those are weeds, by the way, not trees. They were huge. So this was the process of the tiles. And cleaning. That's the cafeteria. And then you can see here, they have laundry baskets, they have closets. I mean, it's a room, and then they have their own bathroom in each room. So that was the short wall. That was the kids at the end of the day. There's that resting I was telling you about. It was super hot that day. And I'll go ahead and add, there were several days, so me and two other ladies were the ones outside painting. Everyone else was inside working. And there was 2 days that were incredibly hot. One day, there ended up being a dust storm. So we had to take a break and come in, which was much needed at the time that it showed up. Jimmy the chicken.
The annoying chicken.
We did have a couple days. We had one day where we went and did some sightseeing. We went to the Petrified Forest. We also went to Slide Rock and Walnut Canyon. Slide Rock is what you're seeing here, which was the more fun trip for the kids. But Arizona has lots of, if you've never been, beautiful landscape. And it's different every couple of miles. It's flat and nothing, and then all of a sudden you've got mountains. I think you can see now why it's called Slide Rock.
My legs got so many scrapes after that day.
This was at Walnut Canyon. We did all this in one day. Because I told you, our goal was to get the school ready. That way on Sunday, everything was good for the kids. And we got everything except for all the painting projects done. We got the cafeteria finished, and they still had 4 buildings left after we left. But everything else got completely finished and was ready for the students when they arrived the next day. And that's us after we'd finished the chapel. And that's their chapel from the outside. Very beautiful.